Okay. Now we start the second session. This is the practical session, and good afternoon to all of you. And this session will contain the basics of the machine. R language will be there. Thereafter, the topic research topics on the data mining. Then how we'll install the R language, R Studio, and thereafter we'll discuss about the model building, classification, and regression will be there. Then we will discuss about the result analysis. So first we start. What is R? R is, we will say, that's a free open source software will be there, and most of the time that will be utilized for the statistical computing. And we are also utilize these R language for graphical plotting, like when we design the pie chart, and when we draw some scatter plot. In that case, the R can be utilized. Similarly, the classification, regressions, and associative mining, we are utilizing the R will be there. And there's a variety of the statistical models will be there. This is the linear and non-linear, and most of the statistical test, either some will say that unpaired t-test will be there, and Wilkinson's test will be there, Friedman will be there. Then can be utilized in the R language. Beside this, we are utilize the R in the time series. Most of the time, these time series are used to predict some data. In that case, that will be also utilized in the time series. And there is some built-in function. There is a classification, clustering, and regression model is already built in our R. Similarly, we will say that data handling facility will be theirs, and we are utilizing the operators as we already studied in our C, C++, Java programming. These operators will be utilized for computing the array, perform some computations on array, and matrices will be theirs, and we are also utilize some tools that will be utilized for the feature selection will be theirs, and feature transformation will be theirs, and some graphical facility will be available to plot the data in the different format. Either pie chart will be there, bar chart will be there, scatter plot will be there. Thereafter we will also save this data on our hard disk, and thereafter we can utilize this data. Similarly, as in the MATLAB, we will save the whole workspace. Similarly, the whole variables that will be find out in our the workspace, that will be stored, and that will be utilized later in our new programming functions. And they are well defined, and we will say that most effective programming language that will include both the conditional operators, loops will be there, user defined recursive function, IO facility. All of these come under the R languages will be there. And these are some models that will be available in R language. ADA boost classification. Similarly, the block boost will be, this is also available. Similarly, the C5.0 classification that will be available in our R language. And J48 will be there. J means will be there. Like database classification as well as regressions. Dual use means a classification as well as regression that can be utilized in both ways. So these already available in our R language. Then we will install the package before utilizing these models. Okay. Then the most commonly used models are the decision tree models we will utilize in our civil projects. Like this is a random forest model will be there. Next, sport vector machine that will be utilized for the classification, that will also available in our R language. Similarly, the linear models and linear regression logic will be also available in our R language. Similarly, the neural networks that will be available in our R language. Okay, so these are some used machine learning model that will be available in R language. Most of the time, we will say that the linear and the tree-based models will be utilized in our R languages. Similarly, the neural networks, we will not discuss about the details of these models here. Next is the Rattle will be there. Rattle is the other tools that will be utilized during the working of the data analysis. This Rattle is again free and open source GUI tool for the data mining. Most of the time, when you have to work on the data mining project, in that case, Rattle will be used, and it is free of cost available, and it is used without writing a single line of coding. You can utilize these in our data mining project, and that will be built in our the statistical language R, and it is very simple and easy to deploy, and most of the time that will perform the working on the data pre-processing. Either we have to remove some noise, and either we have to handle some noisy data. In that case, that will be utilized. Similarly, when we have to design some classification modelings, and we have to evaluate some particular data mining project. In that case, that will be utilize the Rattle. The workflow, most of the time we will have to simply load the data set in the Rattle. Then you have to select the variables which you want to explore and you have to mine. After that, you have to explore of the data, whether they are the uniformly distributed, whether they perform the Gaussian distribution will be there. So like that way, when you utilizing these Rattle, in that case, we are able to understand the distribution of the data. Then we are able to transform the data into our according needs. For example, when we apply the classification, then transform the data in another ways. And similarly, for the clustering, so like that, we have to transform the data according to our need, and then you have to build our models, and thereafter we have to evaluate the model on the other data set also, and we can also export the models for the deployment. So Rattle will be utilized for the data mining projects. And next question arises when we perform some practical implementation of either the data mining will be there, either some other data will be available. In that case, where we get the data set, this is a major problem for our research. When we say that when I have to work on the brain image segmentation, then how we'll get the images, then we either go for the brain web will be there and some other data set we have to explore. Then you have to check whether the data set is freely available or not, or some prioritize, we will see that either we have to something paid for these data set. So you have to check whether the data set is freely available or not. When data set is freely available, in that case we can perform some experimentations and some analysis can be performed. So when we apply these data mining techniques, in that case we require some data sets, and these data sets will be retrieved from particular websites like that. This is the UCI library will be there, and from this UCI that will provide a lot of the data sets like that. Classification 171 class and data set will be available for classification purpose. So 29 for the regression, 17 for the clustering, and 48 for the other. Similarly, that will also mention the attribute type, either the attribute is categorical, or we will say that attribute are numerical forms, and some will also mention that we have to pick up the mixed attribute also. It will mention each and everything, whether the the attributes are the multivariates, or either numerical will be there, categorical will be theirs, and that will also mention that this data will be contain some time series data or not. Like that way we will able to analyze the different data set, and then we will download the data set from these you say machine libraries, and some other website will be also available. This we will able to download the data sets. Okay. Main problem in the subset problem will be this. It means that we had number of the subsets from a set of numbers whose number is 0. Like this is a problem statement. It means that you have to find the number of a subset from set of number whose sum is 0. So like that subset, you have to constraint mentions that you have to take on the 3 to 6 only. My set size will be 3 to 6 only. In that case, like that, this set is available. So this is the subset problems most of the time we have to solve. In that case, we will select randomly a set will be there. Thereafter, some computation or sum will be compute. If the sum is equal to 0, it means that the same set is particular set is listed in our data sets. Otherwise, when the sum is not 0, then we have to check particular no termination criteria will be check again. So like that way, we have to go for the randomized approach. Each and every time some set will be selected, and then you have to compute the sum. If the sum is equal to 0, then it's okay. Otherwise, you have to go again. So like that way, we will able to find out the subset problems. Is the flow of the data mining. Most of the time, the most of the projects works on the data mining, and that to perform these data mining project, first step is data collection. It's very important. You have to collect the data. It means you have to justify your data, or we will say that whether the data is a primary data or secondary data. Then you have to check whether there is single variant or multivariant, and then you have to mention the features of the different data. So step number one, when you have to perform any data mining project, step one is data collection will be there. Either you will retrieve the data from a particular specified website, or you will design own data set will be there. The next step is the data cleaning will be there. Data cleansing means you will just remove some redundancy. Okay. And for example, in the database you have already studied about the redundancy will be there, and when the particular attribute which is repeated, so many times, it means that will be greatly affected your classification and clustering, as well as association models will be there. And in that case, we will remove the redundancy, and thereafter you have to check whether some features value of these feature will be available or not. For example, your dataset will contain the 40 features will be there. Out of these 40 features, for example, 30 feature value of 30 feature are missing. It means that will be greatly affect the performance of your classifiers. So you have to handle these missing values. Either you have to take the average value will be there, but it will be not appropriate methods. Again, when we take the average value, that will be again we will say that affect the quality of your classifier. And sometime we will go for the probabilistic method to find out the missing value. So best method is probabilistic method will be utilized to predict the missing values. And in the data cleansing process, we will be most of the time normalize and transform the data. It means that when the data set will be available, and some features have very high value and some features have very low value. In that case, the features which have very high value, that will be dominate during the classification and clustering. In that case, we have to normalize all the feature at the same labels, so that that will be not affected greatly on our the classifiers or as well as our clustering technique. Next one is the feature selection. This is very important, because when we assume that every features have equal importance, it means that will be affect the performance of our classifiers. And what we seen in our literature, that every feature will be not contribute 100%. Some feature will contain that 60 to 70% variation will be there. Some features that is responsible for the 1 or 2% variation will be there. So like that PCA in the very old technique, this is a principal component analysis that will be utilized to reduce the features. It means that only the relevant features will be kept in our for classification or clustering, or as well as our association bindings. Only the irrelevant features that will be neglected. Similarly, the feature selection is again the research domain will be there. In that case, you have to select the minimum a set of the features which provide the best performance. In that case, yeah, uh, you have to selection of the features. Most of the time we will be either utilizing the variation that present in our features. Sometime we will go for the information theoretical concept. Either we have to measure the entropy will be there. Sometime we will be utilizing the Gini index will be there. Sometime the information gain can also be utilized to check whether the particular feature will be contribute or not. So like that way we will compare the different feature methods on prediction model performance. Next, in the division of the data, it is very important. Most of the time, the general formula is taken the 70 to 30%. It means that 70% we have to train the models in the classifications, and 30% that will be reserved for testing the models. And what we also try for the 50-50, 60-40, like that way. So the data always divide into the two main parts, training and testing will be there. This is a step number 4 will be there. In a step number 5, we will train the models. For example, we have select the criteria is 70-30%. In that case, we will train the models on the 70% data, and thereafter we will test the data remaining the 30%. And thereafter we will perform the cross validation, as we have already studied about the cross validation in the previous sessions. And that is very important to check the robustness of the models. Okay, and most of the time we will utilize the tenfold cross validation, and then we plot the performance on our graph. And the main flow of the this data mining, this data collection will be there. Either you will collect the data from the data sets will be there, then you apply the data filtering and cleansing will be there. Then you have to select some features using some uh, existing feature selection methods. Either sequential forward method will be there, sequential backward methods will be there. Relief f is a well known feature selection methods that can be also utilized for the feature selection. So the different methods and techniques can be utilized for the feature selection. Then we train the models, and we train the model on the available training data sets. For example, data set divided into the 70-30 ratio. In that case, the model is trained on the 70% data. Then we will test the data, and then you perform the cross validation. After the cross validation, you have to analyze the results. Okay, and some useful resources which will be available, like that. If you want to go in the deepers of these data learnings, data minings and machine learning, then books are applied predicted modeling will be there. Either you can go for the data mining with Rattles and R. Graham Williams will be there, and some other useful sources. The software, you are able to find out the software. In the meantime, when we cover some topic, in that case, you please go into that particular website. Cran will be there. Cran.r-project.org. From this, you will download the R as well as R Studio from this particular website. This is the http://crane.r-project.org. That will provide the comprehensive R archive network will be there, and that will be the main primary repository for the R language. Most of the package that will be already present on this particular website. Beside this, you can also check the data from www.r-project.org will be there. And when you go for the machine learning, and most of the time the task view will be there. This is a lot of the predictive model package available in the that is the crane will be crane.r-project.org/web/views/machine learning.html. You are able to find out a lot of the modeling packages in that will be present in our R language. This is the carrot will be there. Carrot package carrot.r-project.org. So like from there's a different websites will be available. From this you are able to find out or you are able to download the R softwares as well as R Studio. Okay. So meantime, please you download these R and R Studio first. After downloading the R from this particular website, then first install the R, then install the R Studio, then we start the practical session. Meanwhile, please download the R and R Studio from this particular website, crn.r.org. Next one, for example, when you have to find out that RuleQuest will be there. RuleQuest also provides some open sources version of the C5.0. If you have to find implemented this C5.0, in that case, this website rulequest.com will be there. Next one is the Rattle. If you have to perform some data mining techniques in the graphical user interface, that will be utilized in the Rattle Togaware we will there. In that case, from this we will able to find out that Rattle. This is the GUI interface will be for the R predictive models. Next is the Vika. You can also perform the data mining on the Vika will be there. This is widely utilized. Similarly, the Orange will be there. It is open source as well as some we will say the cross-platform graphical user interface, and that will be also apply on the different machine learning models. Okay. So these are some other softwares which can be applied on our data mining techniques. Let's say next one is the Kinby will be theirs, and it is again the user friendly and comprehensive open source data integrations. And most of the time that will be process the data and analyze the data, and thereafter we will be explore the different platforms. Similarly, the we can use the Sparse will be there. IBM Sparse will be there, that will be utilized for the Clementine visualized platform for the model buildings. And similarly the data miner will be there. This is utilizes for the data mining purpose. So from the SAS, it is the SAS product for the data mining. Similarly, you can also obtain some other programs from the kdnotes.com slash software/suits will be there. So like that, if from there's a lot of the websites will be available. From these you are able to find out the different softwares. Okay. If you want to learn more about these machine learnings and data mining, in that case the Coursera will be there. Coursera.org. In there the most popular course is this is the machine learning by the Andrew Ng by the Stanford University. Next is the from the YouTube you can also find out data mining using Rattles. And beside these, the most important is the competition on the data minings. Each and every times some new data will be posted on these websites, and new algorithm and some ideas will be posted on these websites. These are the www.kaggle.com will be there, and next one is the www.kdnuget.com. This is the knowledge discovery in the data. KDD Cub, it is also known as KDD Cub. Second one, the tuneedit.org will be there. So from these websites you are find out the different competitions that will be held on either data minings or some time the machine learnings will be occur on these different sources. Next one, the data set. If you want to access some data sets, in that case, first one is the UCI, is the University of California. Irvine is a well-known location for the classification and regression data models will be there. Similarly, next one is the KDD, kdinugate.com/datasets. That will provide the large amount of the data set will be there. You can extract data for your the machine learning competition. Most of the time these particular KDD group organize the annual machine learning competitions, so you will able to find out these data set from the sites. Next is the economic.gov will be there, and that provide this is the US Department of Energy that is to the different estimation of the fuel economy for the passenger car and trucks. If you want to work on that particular area of the fuel economy, in that case the dataset can be available from these websites, fueleconomy.gov. Similarly, for example, you have to work on some computational chemistry data sets, or you have to work on the bioinformatics. In that case, this particular site www.cheminformatic.org, that will provide the lot of the data that will contain the data set of the computational chemistry. Next one is the when you have to work on the microgenes, and you have to analyze the high throughput functional genomes, and you have to find predict the next generation sequencing. In that case, ncbi.nm.nis.gov, that will provide the lot of the data about free data set will be available on this site for the micro arrays, and next generation sequencing will be there. And we will say that either the very high throughput functional genomics will be also present. And blogs, if you want to some new latest information is required, in that case you can check the r-blogger.com and blog.revolutionaryanalytic.com/r. So these are some blogs in which latest information regarding the R language is posted. And most of the research topics is the data minings. And the most hot topic is the research is feature selections, feature minimization, feature extraction, and dimension reduction will be there. And most of the time you have to choose the important features, or we will say that you have to select the small set of the features that will provide the better performance of the data models. Okay, we have mentioned only that 10,000 is a million of the features will be present. Among them you have to find out only small sets. In that case you can design your own algorithms, own techniques to for automatic feature selection methods. Either you can go for the deep learning techniques or machine learning techniques, or some optimization technique can be also inbuilt for automatic feature selection, feature minimization, and dimension reductions. And next topic, for example, you have to also utilize but these topics second topic is actually only for the MTech labels only, the performance comparison of different machine learning model on the data sets. In that case, for example, you have taken the class with different classification algorithms, and then you have to check the their performance matrices. Either we are using the R scale, correlations will be there, accuracy, prediction time, and root mean scale, and on the different data sets we will analyze. So we can also check. Similarly, the validation of your best selected models, and most of the time either you have to go for the cross validation, yeah, stratified cross validation, to check whether that particular model is biased toward the data or not, because biasness is a very important thing. Most of the time we will not apply the validation, and we will just say that our presented results are good, but is not correct, because we have to apply the cross validations, or either we have to apply some statistical testing, so that we are able to identify that yes, our model is reliable. Okay, and just by adopting the above said methods you can easily write the conference papers. But when you go for the journals, in that case what you have to do, in that case you have to check. First one, your data must be primary or own generated data will be theirs. Second one, you have to generate your new novel, either classification technique will be there, or clustering technique will be there, or you have to develop some association rule mining algorithms, or some hybrid we will say that feature selection methods will be there. And then you have to compare at least 4 to 5, but we will not mention the 4 to 5. Now the scenario is changed also. We always mention that at least you have to compare your proposed method with the 6 to 7 different methods, and thereafter you have to validate the performance of your proposed method. and then you have to apply also the statistical testing. And most of the time you can contain more than hundreds of examples that are related to. Just go to the SCI kit learn.org that will provide a lot of the information on the recent topics on which research is going on. Either image processing will be there, either text classification will be there, either we will also find you are able to find out the intrusion detection and problems will be there, financial marketing. Lot of the information will be available on the latest research topics on the SCI learn.org. Next, we will start the today's main practical sessions. This is the R and R Studio installation. First, you have to install the R. Simply, just you have to go to the particular website, Secran, and this website you have to go for the setup. R 3.1.2 or latest version will be there, and you have to just download these setup and that's just install. Thereafter, you have to also take the R Studio from the similar website, and then you have to install these R Studio. After installing the R, this first screen will be visible on your computer like this way. Just we mentioned the 32-bit because we have installed 32-bit. If you have already installed the 64-bit, in that case that will mention that RGUI 64-bit. This is the first screen of the R that will be present in your computer. Next one we will start. If you have already installed the R language, then you can just type these things and you will see the results. First one is the, say for example, if we mentions that you have to present some data or you have to present some data on your the screen. In that case, just write the my string. This is a variable will be there, and this is the assignment operator. This angle and one line will be there. This is the assignment operator. As we are using the C language double equal, this is that will be utilized in the R language. Then in the double code we mentions that string hello world, like in that C programming we mentions that hello world. So like that we will mention here, and that will be values will be stored in our these variables my string. And to display the data, in that case just we write the print and then mention the variables here. The variable is the my string, then print my string will be there. In that case the particular your window that will show that hello world will be there. So like that way it mentions that one, it means that one variables one particular lines will be there, and we will present execute this particular hello world will be shown. Similarly, you can also write the comments, and to writing the comments we will be write here the hash that will be only for the single line. Most of we R will not support the multi-line comments. Okay, but there is some trick will be utilized for most of the programming. Just we write that if false, then within the bracket mention that this is the demo for a multiple line, like that way. In that case, we will be show the comments for the multiple line, but our language will be not support the multi-line comments. That will be only support the single line comment, like that way. Hash you have to mention. Next one is the variables. As in the C language, we are utilizing the different variables, C++ and Java. But in that particular R, that will support only the R objects. When variables are assigned with R objects, and the data types of the R object will be there, and that will be become the data object or variables. There are many type of the R objects will be there, and mainly the 6 type of the R objects will be there. One is the vectors, second is the arrays, third is the strings, fourth is the integers, fifth is the floats, sixth is the float, seventh is the float, eighth is the float, ninth is the float, tenth is the float, eleventh is the float, twelfth is the float, thirteenth is the float, fourteenth is the float, fifth is the float, sixth is the float, seventh is the float, utilize for our the research projects. And if you have already installed the R, in that case you just type this one, then you are able to create a vectors like that. When you have to create the vector, for example, simply you have to write the variable name on the left side, then you have to write these particular symbols. This is for the assignment operator. Then you have to write the C. This is the symbol for creating the vectors. Within the C you have to mention that particular values like that, red, green and yellow, like that way. Thereafter you are able to print that particular variables. So like that we will able to create a vector. Similarly, for example, you have to create the list. In that case, just you have to enclose all of these things in the list. List will contain the different data types. Like that first one we are using the integer, next one using the fraction value, then some function will be there. So like that way we are able to when you to represent a different data set. In that case, data when the integer will be there, then the floating value will be there, then some function will be there. In that case, list will be utilized. So like that way you have to just mention the list before this C value, that will be utilized as a list. Then you have to write for display, just write the print list one. And when you have to design some metrics, in that case you have to utilize the keyword metrics, then write that m is equal to metrics. Within that you have to mention that c the syntax will be there. Then you have to mention that number of row is equal to 2. It means that number of rows is 2 and column is 3. So write that a b, that will go. And thereafter you have to mention that by row you have to filling the data through the row wise. So first it will feed the data in the row first row. After that you have to feed the data in the second row. Right way you have to mention that by row is equal to true. It means that you have to fill the data row wise. And then you have to print the matrix m. So like that way you will able to print. If you have already installed, please write and check the output. Next one, for example, you have to create the array. In that case, just you have to write that array that will be created and then mentions that C for this is syntax. Then the green and yellow will be there, but you have mentions the dimension of the array. Then you mentions that C332. It means that this is the number of rows, this is the number of the column, and thereafter this is the dimension T. There's a two dimension will be utilized. Okay. Then first it will create the 3 by 3 one matrix. Next it will create the 3 by 3 second one will be there. Okay. The first one it will fill the data like first fill the green, yellow, then it will fill the green, then it fill the yellow, green, like that way. So like that way it will be fill the data. Then you are able to print the print A will be there. And next one is the when you have to create the data frame. In that case you have to write the data dot frame will be there. And with the data frames, for example, the different values will be the gender is equal to the male females, like that way. For the first persons, next you have to mention that height will be there. Height for the first one, second one and third one. Next is the weight, you have to mention that c. Then 81, 93, 78, like that way the mentions that weight will be there. Then we mention the age, like that we mentioned. Then we close this one. This bracket will be closed here. Then you have to write that print bm will be there. Then particular whole data frame will be shown. The gender is a male. Then again male will be shown, then female will be shown, then the height will be shown, weight and age. So like that way it will be show the column wise data will be shown. And next one is the functions, and these function will be utilized for deleting the data. For example, our workspace contain a lot of the data and we have to remove this data. In that case we will be utilize the different functions like that. rma will be utilized most of the time. When you have to delete all the variables in the r language, then we have to go the rm with ls function. You have to just write the code that is equal to rm, and within this you have to mention the list is equal to ls. Utilizing these particular method, we are able to delete all the variables that mentioned in the workspace as well as a console. And when you most of the time these ls function that will be use a pattern to match with the variable name. For example, when write here the ls where, in that case within the whole current work directly it is able to find out that where.1 where.2 like that way. It will most of the time these ls function is utilized to use a pattern that will match with a particular variable name that pass through this argument. Okay. So this is the function that will be utilized to remove all the variables from the workspace. Next is the operators. Most of the time, R language that will be try the different operator, arithmetic, relational, logical, assignment operators will be there. But assignment operator is not similar as we have utilized in our CC language. That is like that way. This is the assignment operators. Okay, like that we mentions that this is the assignment operators. So next to miscellaneous operator that will be utilized colon. Most widely utilized the colon will be there. When we write is a V, this assignment operator will be there. 2:8. It means that we are taking the range from 2 to 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to 8 will be there. Similarly, when we mentions that percentage in percentage, that will be utilized to identify if the particular element that belong to a vector or not. So you have to check, for example, you have to mention that variable x will be there, and after that we mention that x percentage in percentage, they have to mention the y. It means it will check whether that element of x that will be belong to the y or not. So like that way we are able to identify whether the particular element belong to a particular vector or not. Similarly, for example, when we multiply the matrix with its transpose, in that case we will utilize as percentage star percentage, that will be utilized for multiplying the matrix with its transpose. So like this is some special operators that will be utilized in our R language beside the relational, logical and assignment operators. And next one is the decision making. Most of the time, the as we have utilized only the if statement and switch statement, as in the C, C++ and Java. That will be also utilized in our the R language as if statement. Then you have to mention the if boolean expression will be there. Then you have to within the bracket mentions the particular statement that will be executed when the particular expression will be true. Similarly, for example, if else, it means that you can design your the if else ladders, like if a condition will be there then particular part will be executed, again else if, like that way, as we have already studied in our C, C++ and Java will be there. Next is the switch statement. We have also utilized a switch in the R language. In that case we mention the expression will be there. This is the expression. Then you have to mention the expression will match either case 1, case 2, case 3 or default values. Again the looping will be there, as the loop will be utilized in our another programming language. We are utilizing the three different loops, while as utilized in the another language same structure will be there. But in the four statement we have mentioned that for value in vector you have to mention only. You have to mention the value, for example I is equal to 1 in mention in a vector, then you have to execute the statement. Similarly, repeat loop will be there. In that case you will repeat the command until you will not satisfy particular criteria. For example, we have to repeat these commands will be there, and if condition is satisfied then you are out of the loop. Like that way you will apply the loop will be there, and while loop can be utilized and for loop can be utilized. Okay. Next one is a user defined. As we have already mentioned that R will contain a lot of the functions, either max, you have to find out the maximum value. In that case max function will be there. When you have to find out the mean, in that mean function will be there. When you have to find out the standard deviation, in that case std will be there. When you have to find out that variation, in that case where will be there, var, that will function utilize the computation of the variation. Similarly the correlation, you can corr will be utilized. So the built-in function will be there. Beside these you can also design your own functions. For example, we have to create a function to print scale of a number in a particular sequence. It means that you have to design a function in the R language. For example, you have to compute the scale of one scale, that is 1, 2 scale is equal to 4, like that way. In that case when you have to define your own function, the method is you have to write here the new dot function. This is the main you have to mention here always new dot function. Then you have to assignment operator, that the function a will be there. So like you have to find out the argument, either a, b, c, d, whatever argument you will find out. But we mentions that you have to create the function to print the scale of the number in a sequence. Then within that you have to find put the loop. Either you apply the while loop, repeat while repeat, and then yeah, for we mention here for I in 1 to a will be there. Please mention see here in that case I is here because you have to mentions that I in vector, and we have mentions that I that will started from 1 to a will be there. Within the bracket b we have assigned the b value that is equal to I raised to power 2. Then you have to print the B values, and A that will pass through these argument. Okay, and thereafter you can call this new function, the new dot function. Then you will pass the 6. That is 6 as a argument will be there. Thereafter you design the user defined functions. Next one, when for example you define some function with argument, in that case new dot function, then you have to put the assignment operator, then you have to function like that. Function is a keyword will be there, then A is equal to 3, B is equal to 6. That is a default arguments will be there. When we not mention any argument, that way we also apply the default argument in the R languages language, and there is the result assignment operator is equal to A multiply B. Thereafter we print the results. After that we call the function that is equal to the new function. In the new function we will not call any argument. In that case the result will be equal to 18, because default parameters are 3 and 6 will be there. Okay, so results will be the 18. And thereafter we will mention the 9 and 5. In that case the function will not take this default parameter. In that case it will take the new parameter. 9 and 5 will be there. 9 5 45 will be display. So like that way we will create our own function with arguments as well as with default arguments. Okay, next one, if we want to create a data frames, in that case simply you have to write the keyword data dot frame, and within that you will able to mention the different like that employee ID will be there. Then mention the employee ID equal to 1 column 5. It means that 1 to 5 is the employee ID. Then we mentions that employee name. For example, you have to give the name. This Ram Ravi, like that way you mentions that name. Then you have to mentions that then you have to mention the starting date. When we utilize the date, in that case you have to use the some format will be there. This is the as dot date. First you have to mention this particular function as dot date. Thereafter you will utilize these format. In that case all of these data will be taken as a date format, otherwise it will be taken as a string format. Okay, next one is the string as factor equal to false. Okay, and we will close this one. The data frame will be created, and thereafter we will display. To display the data, in that case just simply write the print. The data frame name is the employee dot data. Then we write here the employee dot data. Simply, for example, if we display the summary of the whole data, in that case you have to write the print, then mention that summary, and then within the bracket you have to mention that employee data. In that case the whole summary of the data will be provided. The name will be this, ID will be this, salary will be this, each, and the types will be also mentioned. Like that way simply structures, you if you define the structures, then write the str employee data will be there, the structure will be displayed. Okay. If we want to extract some specific column, in that case we will, for example, we have to extract some specific column from the data frame. Then write the data frame, then employee data. You have to take the data from the employee data. Then you have to mention that dollar employee name, comma employee data dollar salary. You have to mention specifically column after before this particular data frame name, and then you have to mention the dollar values. In that case we mentions that employee dot data, then you mentions the dollar and employee name. Similarly you mentions that employee dot data dollar salary. In that case we are able to extract two specific columns, employee name and salary, from the defined data frames, and that will be printed through our print section. Next one is the third. When we extract some mentions that simply extract the third and fifth row with the second and fourth column. It is also possible to extract from our data frames. Simply you have to mention the data frame name is employee data will be there. Thereafter you have to mention that C35 and C24 will be there. That will be provided the results, and thereafter you will print the result. Okay, like that we will extract that some rows and columns. If we will add some column, in that case we can also add some column. Like that way we have to add the department. You have to write employee data, then you have to mention that next column, but apply the column you have to mention the dollar value. So right here the dollar department, this is the new column will be added. and thereafter we will transfer the data. This is the IT department will be there, operation department will be there, ITHR will be there, finance, like that way. Thereafter, these data will be stored in some particular variables. For storing the variables, we are just using these assignment operators, employee data, and then V will be there. Thereafter, we print the V. And these are simply the methods that we are utilizing. Either we have to design the matrix or vectors will be there, array will be there, and data frame will be there in the R language. But when you go for the R language for the search purpose, in that case you have to install the packages, and packages are nothing but the collection of the libraries. And for example, you have to get the library location that containing some R package. Just you have to write these command in your command prompt dot lib path, that will provide the exact location of the library location that contain all the function. R function will be there. And to get the list of all the package that will be installed in your R language, just write the library in the command prompts or your screen. In that case, the library, you just mention the library, and within the bracket that will provide the list of all the packages. If you have already installed the R language, just try this one, library, and then this function that will display all the packages that will be installed in your computer. If you want to install some packages, in that case you have to write some code. This code is the install.packages. The particular function is the install.packages, and in the bracket double quotes you have to mention the package name. For example, you have to install the neural network package, then you have to mention the package for the neural network here. And next one is the you have to check the library after installing. After you have installed this one, then you have to load that particular package into your library. In that case, you have to write the code that is the library within your command prompt. This is a library, this package name will be there, then lib.loc location will be there. You have to provide the location. It means the path to the library you have to provide it. First you have to install the package, and then you have to load that particular package into your library. Okay, so first for installation you have to write the install.package. Thereafter you mentions that library within the double quotes, package name will be there, then lib.location will be there. So like that way you will mention that library location. So I have already mentioned that library location. How will get the library location? This is the .lib paths will be there. Okay, using this command you are able to find out the library location, and that will be utilized during the installations of your package. Okay. Next one is the data reshaping will be there. In the data reshaping, it means that we can combine the multiple vectors to create data frames. As we have seen in our data frames, most of the vectors will be combined together to the data frame functions, and then we design the data frame. But we can also utilize the cbind, another function that will be available in the R language. This is the cbind that will be combining the multiple vectors to create a new data frames. And similarly, when we join the different two data frame will be there, and we want to join these two data frames, in that case we will utilize that R bind will be there. For combining the vectors, cbind function will be utilized, and when we combine the data frame, in that case R bind function will be utilized. Next very important thing is that you have to find out your present working directory. And when we install the package, in that case we will check whether that particular data set will be available in our present directory or not. If it is not present directory, in that case you have to set the present directory. So like that you have to get and print the present directory. You have to just utilize that function. This is the get wd will be there. Get working directory. Get wd. W means working, d for directory. So get wd function that will be utilized to get the present working directly will be there, and that will provide the location. You have to just display the print get wd. So that will provide the location of the present directory. Next one is to set the present working directory. In that case, you have to just mention that set working directory. Thereafter you have to mention the path. Doing this way you are able to set the current working directory in the R language. And thereafter you can also display that print get wd. when you want to display the present working directory, then you utilize this function. Okay. The next one is the file reading, which is very important for in our language, because most of the time you have to read the data, and most of the time the data is available in the CSV file. Okay. In the CSV file, see, we always read the data. The command is the read.csv. When you have to read the CSV file, in that case you have to write the read.csv, and within the this particular bracket you have to mention that file name. For example, we mentioned that input.csv, and through this particular command we will be read the CSV file that will transfer to the data here. After that, we will create simply read this data, and we have to find out the maximum salary. For example, you have to find out the maximum salary from a data frame. In that case, you just write the max for the maximum. You have to find out the maximum salary, and what you have to apply this max function on the salary that will present in our this particular data. Because a lot of the features will be available, but you have to apply these max function on the salary features. In that case, you have to write in the data, then you have to apply the dollar will be there, because when we have to specify the column, in that case syntax is the dollar will be there, the dollar, salary. Then you have to are able to apply these max function on the salary, and that will be transferred to the cell variables. Okay. And similarly, for example, you have to get the person detail having the maximum salary. In that case, just you have to write the code like that. You have to mention that this is a function in the subset. Then you have to mention the data it provide the data that will taken from the input.csv file. Within this, just you have to write this code. The salary, this is double equal to max salary, and that will be provide the whole details. Either that will be the address will be there, and the name will be there, ID will be there. All of these will be set here, the retrieve value, and then print the retrieve RT value will be there. So like that way we are able to retrieve the different details of the persons. Okay. Similarly, when we mentions that address, then address double equal to, with you have to mention the double code, and in that case the person that will satisfy this criteria, that will whole detail of that particular person will be displayed. Like that way we will be just show the file readings in the CSV file. So for CSV file reading, you have to just use the read.csv. Okay. Next one, for example, most of the time when we take the data and that will be present in our Excel file, then simply this read.csv will be not work. But when we have to read the file from the Excel file, because most of the time we will say store the data in the Excel file, in that case you have to install the package. That will package is the Excel SX will be there. In that case, simply you have to write the code install.package XLSX will be there, and thereafter you have to load these package from your library. You have to write the library XLSX will be there. So like that way, first, because directly we are unable to read the Excel file. CSV file will be directly read, but in case of the Excel file, you have to install the package, and that package is the XLSX will be there. In that case, first you have to install the package. When we install the package, in that case lot of the mirror images will be shown from which server you have to download the data. And after downloading these package will be installed, and thereafter you have to transfer that particular package into the library. In that case, you just write the library and mentions that package name, that will by default it will be taken. It will not taken. In that case, you have to specify the path. Okay. Thereafter, when we read dot, thereafter we have to write the command read dot xlsx will be there. In that case, you have to mention the file name. Thereafter, you have to also mention the seat index number, because it is possible that data will be feed in the sheet number 1, sheet number 2, sheet number 3. Like that, you know, mentions that whether data present in sheet number 1, 2, or 3, right here. You have to write here. Then it will pick the data, and that will transfer to the variable data. Then you have to write the print data. Next is very important. It means that, for example, you are working on the real project. In that case, instead of storing the data in Excel files and CSV files, sometime we will store the data in our database. In that case, your R program should be connected with the database. Okay. either we are using the SQL, MySQLs and Oracle like that way. In that case, most of the time we assume that you are using the MySQL. In that case, we will directly not utilize the commands. First, you have to install the package, and that package is rmysql will be there, and that will be you have to install these rmy package. Then you have to library my rmysql will be there. After that, you have to write this command. This is the db connect will be there to connecting the database connect. The db connect will be there. In that case, you have to write the function. This is a mysql that is inbuilt function in the R language. Then you have to mention that user equal to root password. Then the database name will be there. Then you have to mention the host equal to local host will be there. Then the mysql connection will be established. Okay. And after that, you have to listing the data, all the tables that are available in our database. In that case, just write that db list table. Db will be small, L will be the cap will be there, list, and T also cap. So DB list tables. With that, you have to mention that MySQL connection. Okay, this is listing the tables available in the our database. Is a like that database name is Vijay. So in that case, the list of the tables that will be available. After, for example, we have to send the query vector table to get all the because will be present in our database, and we have to retrieve the query from the active tables. In that case, simply we have to write the command the db send query, and then you have to mention that my connection, my SQL connections. And in that case, you have to select all the data from the table actor, and write here select star from actor. Like that, this is the command to select all the rows from a actor tables, and that will be transferred to the result section. Okay. Similarly, instead of retrieving all the data, I am interested only the first 5 rows. In that case, simply you have to write that fetch. You have to fetch the data from this particular variable. This is the result, and then mention n equal to 5. It means that only first 5 rows will be fetched. So like that way, that will be transferred to the data frame, and then we will display. So like that way, we will be first install the rmysql, then we establish the connection, and thereafter we will retrieve the tables that will present in the given data sets, and then we are able to retrieve some information from the specified tables that will present in our database, and then we retrieve also some fraction of the data instead of the whole data. Like that way, we will apply all of these things in our project. Okay. Next is the plotting, which is very important, because most of the time your research papers we are using the plot. You have to design some plot like that. Either pie chart will be there. You have to perform the bar charts, scatter charts like that way. In that case, we have mentioned that x variable. In that case, transfer the 21, 62, 10, and 53. They will transfer here. Then we mention that label. 4 label is present. London 21% will be given, 62 for the New York, Singapore 10%, 53% for the Mumbai. Like that, we mention simply data. For example, we have mentioned some data. Then we have give some chart file name. We have to give some file names. Like that, we mentioned that PNG, we just store the data in the PNG form. File is equal to cd.png. Okay. Then we plot the chart. For example, we just plot the pie chart. Then we mention a pi, pi. Then first variable and second variable x and labels will be there. After plotting these, we have to save this file so that we can retrieve these file after some time. In that case, we have to just write the code. This is called the dev.off. Dev device dot off. It means that we have off the devices. So dev dot off will be there. With that will be utilized to save the data. Plot will be there. Okay. And next one is the scatter plot. Widely utilize the scatter plots. And in that case, simply you have to write the plot. Then you have to transfer the x and y variables. Is x for the data set whose values are horizontal coordinate, y whose values are vertical coordinates. Then you have to mention the title of the graph. Then you have to mention that table in the horizontal axis. Then you have to mention that y for the vertical axis will be there. Then you can also provide the limit for the x-axis. Similarly, you can also provide the limit for the y-axis. Then you have to indicate the axis, indicate whether the both axes will be drawn on the plot or not, or either we hide the axis. So like that way we mention that scatter plot. Okay. So first one, you have to go. I have already sent some data practical sections, and just go for the demo one and open the result.xlsv. XLSX will be there. Check the data which will be available in your files. What you have seen in these your result.excel file. Some parameters will be there, and these parameters will be known as features. Some tuples will be provided. It means that these are the number of rows will be there that will contain some data. Okay. Are you able to open the particular folder or not? Okay. Next one. If you have to go for more on the R, in that case, you can go for the books on R and machine learning and some papers. And next, we will just go to the first session. This is the open R basics will be there. In that case, simply we will go to the R Studio. Screen will be not shown. Screen. In that case, we will stop the sharing from this portion and just go to R Studio here. Just open this particular basic file, basic r basic dot r files will be there. In that case, first you are seeing some additions. Example will be given here. Like that, you have to mention that first one. This is the 2 plus 2. Like that, you are able to find out. This is the addition will be there. Next one. B, you have to assign some variables. So like that way, we have assigned some variables. You can also utilize that equal sign. Beside these, C is equal to A plus B. We have just mentioned that. Then simply you have display the C value. This is the 10 plus 20. 30 will be shown here. Like that we have utilized this. Next one is the cat C. Display value. Then the exponential. If you go for the exponential function, then simply write that exponential 2 like that way. This is the exponential. You have to find out that minus 2, 0.135 like that way. Similarly, you have to find out the log. You have to find out the log to 10 and base you have taken the 10. In that case, output is equal to 2. Are you able to show the RStudio window? Yes, participant.
Uh,
Window is shown or not?
yeah, sir, it is visible, but it is blur.
Blur.
Yeah, so means it's not visible. Most of the contents are blur.
Mm,
If you could increase the size of font, it is possible.
I will try.
Okay,
This
now
is the
it is
optimal
now.
sign.
Yeah, now it is visible. Now it is visible.
Visible? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Next one, for example, you have to create some 5 random variables 0 to 1. In that case, like that way, you have to write that random RUNIF 5. In that case, random number will be generated from the 0 to 1 will be there. Okay, then you can also transfer these number into some particular variable like the n. Then we transfer this value. Then you can also show the n value here. Each and every time when we utilize these random function, the value will be changed. First it will take these values, and the next time when we apply these random function, in that case value will be changed. Each time when apply these random function, the value will be generated different because each and every time the seed will be different. Next one, class. For example, when we mention the class, that will provide the type of the variables. Mention here is n, and means numeric will be there. It will write here the numeric values, like numeric is here. Like that, when we find out that minimum values, then we write here the min n. Then it is able to find out that minimum value from this. Minimum value is this one. It will show here. Similarly, when here to go for the maximum, write here the max function. Then, for example, we have to mention that sum, write the sum function will be there, then mean value, to find out mean value, then write the mean here. Then the standard deviation HD will be there. This provide the standard deviation for n. Next one, for example, we have taken some more examples regarding that random numbers. We have mentioned that random number 100 minimum value, minimum range is 1, maximum range is 5. Then we write here this one, then show these 1 to 5, the 100 number will be generated. Next one, for example, heads. Only these head values will be taken like this first value. Next, this head value, these head values are taken. Okay. Next one is the predicated values. For example, randomly we have generate some predicted values like that way. Okay. Next one, again we have identify some head values, and then we have to find out the difference. Similarly, simply we write the actual minus predicted will be there. So when we execute this, again the 100 values will be shown here. First value is subtracted from the predicted first value. Actual second value will be detected from the predicted second value, like that way. Next one, we are able to find out the sum. For example, you have to calculate the sum of these difference value. In that case, just write here. Next one, you have to find out the mean value. This is the simply the we have to find most of the time when you go for the research papers, it mentions that root mean square. It means that you have to find out this particular between the actual and predicted value. Then you have to take the absolute value, and then you have to take the mean value. This is the mean. Then you have to perform the absolute, and this provide the actual error values. So this is the root mean square values. Absolute. This is absolute. These mean values will be there. In that case, we have right here. Yes, so this will be the actual. Yeah, like that way. This is the 1.32. Next one is the correlation. If we want to find out the correlation between these actual and predicted, then that will be show the correlation. Like that, we are able to find out that mean error will be there, sum will be there, correlation will be there. And simply, for example, you have to write these file. In that case, simply write the write.csv. All the data will be stored in the CSV file, and simply you have to write the data frame, actual, predicted, and then you have to mention that file name. Your file name will be the sample data dot CSV, and we have mentions that row.name is equal false. This just a syntax will be there. So when we go for this one, simply it store the data. Okay. Next one is the, for example, when you have to read the data like that way. In that case, data set read.sv. We have reading the data. This is the read the data. Then we have checked the head. This is the actual and predicted values. Then we have to take only the actual data value. In that case, it mentions that data set name. Then you have to mention that dollar value, then the actual value. Okay. In that case, we have to mention this. Actual values are there. Then we mentions that predicted value. Then you have to find out that correlation between the actual and predicted value in the given data set, this particular data set. In that case, You have to write the correlation. This is the correlation between these actual and predicted. Then you are able to find out that mean error will be there. In that case, simply you have to write that mean absolute and the data set actual minus predicted will be there. So like that we are able to find out the actual value. We will say that correlation will be there. How we will write the data file in the CSV file. So like that way we are apply all of these things in our language. Next one, we are able to generate some random numbers. In that case, this is the random numbers. Then you have to apply the range between 1 to 5. Similarly, you can also apply the hundreds numbers will be there. Then you can also check the type of the variable. It will be class. For this you are utilizing the class. This is the class. This is numeric will be there. Thereafter we mentions that y that is equal to, this is the assignment operator will be there. Sometime we will utilize the equal, sometime we will go for the this particular. Most of the time in the R language we must utilize these function. X raised to power 2 plus random numbers. In that case, just we execute and just show the values, like these are the values. Next one, we have to plot the function, plot x. The value of the x is these random numbers. In that case, plot x, these are plotted. Okay, this is the indexes 1 to 100 will be there. This is the 1 to 5 will be there. All the data are plotted. Okay, thereafter we have to mention that title. Main means title of the, mentions the plot of x against index 1 to length x will be there. Then in the next one we have mentions that x-axis and y-axis. In that case, that mentions that x-axis and this is the y-axis. Thereafter we have plotting the two variables. First we have plot only the one variable, and next we will plot the x and y both, because first we plot the univariate, next we represent the bivariate. In that case, for example, first we plot the x and y, like that way, with corresponding to the x and y some plotting will be there. Most of the time these scatter plot will be utilized in our research. Next one, and when we save this plot, in that case you have to give the file names, and you have to mention that png. I already mentioned about them. The png file name is equal to some plot will be there. Then png file name and my plot.png, this will be there, like that way. Thereafter you have to mentions the your plot. Then you have to save the file. The div dot off will be there. Then file is saved. Okay, and when you have to find out that current working directory, in that case simply I have already mentioned about that function. This is the get wd will be there. So like that way we are able to identify that yes, this is the particular practical session 1 basics will be there. So like that way we are able to find out the directory will be there. Some another plotting will be also utilized, like that way. For example, z, we have listing here x is equal to x, y x to y. So like the z1 is listing of the two values. Then we see that z values, this is the x, this is the y. Two different variable is taken. Next one is the class. We check the class. Class is the list. Otherwise we will not apply this list, that will be taken the numeric value. But we apply here the list. In that case, that will show the class is equal to list. Then we plot the z. This is the plotting the z value, z dollar x, z dollar y1, like that way. Thereafter we will just show the variation on the plot. Just z1 type is equal to 1. That is only for the lines. Like that way we will show the different lines that will represent in our plotting values. So like that way. Next one is the increasing ordering plot. For example, x will be taken here. Then we order the x. Whole the x will be ordered in increasing order. Then we write here the order. This is the increasing 16 line. Like that way, the order will be shown here for the data. Simply we will increasing order plot will be there. Next one z1. Simply write here the z. x equal to the x order, y is equal to y order. Then we shall show the this one. Hold the data in the increasing order. Okay. So like that way we will just apply the order. We will check the ordering value, then we pass these order into the x and y values, then whole data will be utilized in the particular increasing order. Similarly, we can also apply for the decreasing order also. And next one, plotting. This jet2 will be there, then type is equal to line will be there, and the main x versus y, x and y values. So like that way we'll show x axis and y axis will be there, because that contain the two different variables x and y. So we will show the x and y will be there. Next we plot the instead of the lines we are using the points will also there, and that will be lie on this. So like that way these will be point. If we want to show the point, in that case you have to mention that type equal to o will be there. Okay, in that case lines as well as a point will be displayed, or they will say that overlaid will be there. Next one is the steps. You have to just point the data in terms of the steps. Like that way you will represent h s for the steps will there. Similarly, for example, you have to plot the data in the histogram, like then you have to write that h. So like that way all the data will be represented in the histogram. Next is the grid and curve plotting will be there. For example, jet2, we have taken here the jet2. This is the combination of the x1 and x2. Then we plot the jet2 type n. Next one, we have to plot the grid length y, and this is the grid, and we have to mention the distance wide 1 and 2. This is the 2 wide will be there. Next one is the curve. You have to plot the curve, this one, x to power 2, and you have to mention that color will be the blue and add is still true. Next one, you have to again draw the next curve. Just yeah. Then you have to again put the second curve here. So like that way we can put the multiple curves on the same plot. Then you can also plot the jet2 like that way. Within these line you can draw the points. Similarly, you can show the graphical parameters. These are the different. Either we have to use the colors, then the width. There's a lot of the options will be there when you are doing by hand. Then you are able to understand that yes, there's a lot of the options for drawing the plots. Okay. I am just giving the overview of all of these things. Plot jet2, simply we write that object will be there, the color is equal to red, and 16 will be taken here. Similarly, for example, next we go for this one. So there is two different, red and blue will be there, and fill with the different plus symbols. Okay, you can also go for the color plotting also. Okay, instead of this, simply we draw the iris. For example, when we go for the iris data set will be there. Most of the time the data set data mining technique will be go for the iris. So iris is the just I will just show the data set. This is already inbuilt in the R language. When we just write the iris, in that case iris data set will be available. Is the spell length will be there, width will be there, petal length and width will be there. Then you mention the species. Thereafter we are able to load these data set in our close. Next mentions that heads of these. Next we mention that class is the data frame, because all the data are different types, and it will in the form of the data frame. So mention the data dot frame here. Okay. Next we plot the iris. So like that way we plot the irises. This is the length, width, petal length. So like that way we are able to plot. Okay. when you have to change, you have to change the different these species. In that case, the different color will be utilized. That mentions that color is equal to as dot numeric, and you have taken this particular attribute species taken from the iris data set. So mention here is that data set, then you have to mention that column value will be there. Okay. Next is the function plot. You can also plot some function. For example, you have to plot the sine function, cosine function, tangent function. In that case, for simple right here is the sine function m. The right the from and two will be there. For example, you have to plot. In that case, you have to write the plot. Plot sine minus 2 pi to the plus 2 pi. In that case, this type of the graph will be plotted here. When we write the cosine, in that case, simply you have to change that cosine. Okay, so like that way you can also design your own function. Simply I write the dem dot sin will be there and write the function. This is the function, the new function. X will be there and you write here that sine 5x multiply exponential of the minus x2. This is the new function. Okay, then simply you have to design the function using the function keyword. Then what is the class? This is the function. When we check the variable, either it is a variable, is a data frame, either list will be there, either function will be there, it will mention through this particular function class. Next you will plot this one. This is the data dem dot sin from pi minus pi to the pi. So like that way we will be show. Okay, so this is the basics of our language. And if you go into the details, in that case more function can be explored. Okay, in the my previous folders I have mentions about some R manuals, and you can try these data. Next one we will take the another. So this is the regression. For example, if we take the decision tree here. Okay, in that case we will utilize the decision tree for the regressions. Okay, and the main steps are: first you have to load the data, then you have to partition the data into training and testing set, then you have to train the decision tree model, and thereafter you have to test the model, and thereafter you have to evaluate. The correlation will be there, root mean square will be there, and accuracy will be there, and finally you have to save the results. Okay, so first we start the first point. You have to most of the time the question rises from the different viewers that you have to provide the running time. In that case we will take the execution time also. Getting the starting time simply, in that case simply write the cat new star. We will start. Starting time is equal to process, simply you have to write here the process time 3 will be there. Okay, like that the starting time will be same in particular variables, and your time started from this particular point. Okay, next one we will include some libraries, and because first you have to install the R part will be there, because when you have to, you have to go for the listen tree for the regression. In that case R part library package should be installed. Okay, in that case first we install the R part, then you have to include this library. In that case you have to write here the library a part will be there. In that case it will shows that error will be not shown. It means library is already installed. Okay, thereafter you have to declare some variables. Okay, then we mentions that variable declaration and seeding will be there. Then model, we have taken the decision tree model, then we've taken the decision tree mentioned here in the environment. Model is equal to decision tree. Okay, in that case we will just if you want to just show, then write simple model name. Then you have to take the input data file name. This is the regression data set.csv. Regression dot file name will be there. Then you have to take the input data file name that will be shown here. Then you take the seed point. There is no need to seed point, you can also set the range. Okay, then we write here the set the seed point. Then you have to main step number 3 is very important. You have to divide the data for the training and testing set. In that case, we have divided the data. We have taken the 50% for the training and 50% for the testing. In that case, training equal to 50%. Then we have to load that. Loading the data, simply just write that step, loading the data, then right here. Most of the time when we check this type of the error will be occur, it means that your file will be not present in your current directory. Okay, in that case you have to set your data in the current directory. The first one, you have to check the current directory. What is the actual current directory will be there. Get wd will be there. This is the session 1 will be there, basics, but actually our data will be present in our session 2. In that case, simply you have to go for the session, then go to the set working directory, then choose the directory. Okay, always when this type of the error will occur, it means that your data file will be not stored in the same folder. In that case, you have to just change the your set working directory. In that case, first you have to go for the session, then select the set working directory, then you have to choose directly, then click on them, then go to the particular, like that way session will be there. Okay, we start from this point. Now that particular data command will be executed, because we have already included. When go to the file, it will show yes, we are presently on this particular directory, and in which R will be there, decision tree, linear model, neural network model, random forest will be there. This particular data set will be also available. Okay, then you have to go for the heads. That will mentions that data field will be contain the RMST will be there, area, ED, energy, SS, residual length, pair variable, like that way some data will be available. And after that we have to check the number of the rows will be available, or you have to check the number of records that will be available in data set. Write the n row, then the n row that equals 16,382 number of tuples, or we'll say that records is present. Okay, next one, you have to just show the names. For example, you have to find out that attribute names and feature names. In that case, you have to write the command names, then data set will be there, then names is equal to the root mean square will be there, area, ed, like that way. Okay, next one. First we load the data. After loading, we will check, count total number of the observation and rows, like that way. In that case, first we write the step 5, counting the data set. We have count the total data set and rows. Next we have to choose a target variable. Okay, then the target names will be there. For example, we have to choose RMSD out of them. So right here the RMSD will be there. Target is RMSD. Root mean square will be there, because these are the class labels. For example, we have to only target the RMSD, like that way. Okay. Next one, when the target is completed, in that case you have to choose the input variables. For example, step number 7, choose the input variables. You have to write here the name data, and this is the input. Input will be the area, ed, and these will provide it to your regressions. Then you have to find out the length of the inputs, total number of the variable excluding the target variables. These are the 6 variable will be there. Okay, this is the area, ed, energy, ss, residual length, and pair variable will be there. Okay, simply next one, select the input values. We just select the inputs, just provide the 6 in that particular part. Next we start the training. In that case, we will be trained. Its step is the select the training data set. In that case, we just write the sample, the total data set. After that, we mentions that total data set multiply by the, this is the training. Training is the 50% will be there. 50 divided by 100, it means that 50% data will be taken from here. And most of the time we will be selected the random values. Okay, selecting the training data set, it is the random indexes will be there. Okay, so like the training samples, we write here the training samples. When we like that, when we go into this particular field, training sample, that will show the training samples. These provide out of total number of the attributes, that is equal to the 16382 will be there, and we have taken only the 8191 half will be there, and we have taken these one. These are the random samples will be there. Okay, randomly we have pick up, mention here the sample. Is the random sample will be there. Sample, then total data set. Out of them we have taken only the 50% will be there. Okay, so like that way we will training sample. Then we take the head. Then we count the number of the length will be there. 8191 will be there. Okay. Next you have to select some data from original data set based upon these indices. This is only the indices will be provided. In that case, when we generate the training data set, is the training data set, the selected input, and then provide the target will be there. Okay. Then in data set, you have to just mention this train sample, then continue the selected input and target. Because instead of selecting the whole data, we have only selected input will be there. Selected input will be the these one. This is the selected input. Area, ED, energy, SSN, residual length will be there. Okay. And thereafter mentions that mainly most of the time with top 6 records will be taken. Okay, then the n rows, that is the next we select the testing data set, the test samples, and test samples is equal set difference, like that set difference will be there. The sequential length, this is the number of raw data into the training sample will be there. So in that case test sample you have to taken. Okay, then you have to show the top 6 indices like this one. Simply you have to exclude these indices which are utilized in the training sample. So we have exclude this one. Okay, thereafter we will just show the length of test samples. This is 8191 50 will be there. After that we have pick up the test data set. This is the data. Then we mention the test samples, and you have to taken these one from selected input and target will be there. Okay, then we mentions that selected data. Then you have to take the head. It means the top 6 indices records will be taken here, like that way. Next one you have to mention that row. Total number of rows we have already mentioned. This 8191 will be there. Next one is model building. In that case we have to model building the models, and we are building the model for the when we the model. In that case we mention the formula, that is equal to s dot formula. Then you have to paste the target, then you have to assign the symbol, then paste C selected input collapse, like that way. This actual formula will be there. Okay, we have to write here, then formula will be shown like that way. We have just shown here RMST, that is equal to the summation of all the parameters. Okay, we have write here the formula, the RMST, that is equal to this particular. Similarly, for example, you can write some objective function also here, or that will be treated as a objective formula or fitness function will be there. So like that, as dot formula, then you have to write the target value, that is equal to the this one, and you have to mention that either you have to utilize the addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division, like that way. Next one, after that particular formula, you have to mention that model, and you have to repart, because repart is the library that will utilize for the decision tree. Repart, then formula will be utilized here. In that training data set will be there. Then you have to mention that parameter, that is splitting, because we are go for the decision tree. In that case split will be utilized, and in that case information will be there. Okay, that's the control parameter, that is equal to the user will be there, user circuit will be there, and max circuit will be there. Okay, in that we write here the models. Then this is the model here. This is the whole model. Okay. After that, you have to perform the prediction testing. Then you have to predict the model. You have to create the models, and after this model, you have to apply these test data, and then you have to see the top six different predicted values. Then we have extracting the actuals. Okay. Then show the exact values like that way, and then we evaluate the models. And in that case, we will find out the correlation between the actual and predicted values. Okay. Then we write here the actual and predicted value. Correlation will taken here. Then we have to round off. R is equal like that way. This is the correlation value 0.51. Just to show the R value. Thereafter, we will take the R square, because R value just correlation between the predicted value. Thereafter, we have to take the R square. R square means R into R will be there. Again, you can round up for the 2 decimal points. This one. Thereafter, you have to find out the root mean square. Root mean square means you have to just subtract the actual minus predicted, that take the absolute values, and then you have to take the mean values. In that case, RMSE will be there. Okay. And thereafter, you have to take the round of value. This is the RMSE 1.18, like that way you are able to find out. When you go for the accuracy, then the actual predicted minus absolute minimum, like that way we have to compute the accuracy. So when we go for the total time computation, this is the process time minus the start time. This is the total time will be there. Okay. When we go for the scatter plot, in that case, simply you have to write the name, the file. Then you have to simply plot, and then you have to mention the data, and device of will be there. Okay. So like that way, I think this will not show here. Like this way, actual versus predicted will be shown. The next one, we will save this data, and we off this device. Next one, if we save whole the data, whole the results, in that case frame, you have to just model name will be there, R value, R square value, root mean square, accuracy, total time, each and everything will store. In that case, simply you have to write the data frame. Data frame will be there, and all will store in the results. If we want to write these data into a particular file, in that case you have to write the write.csv, as we mentioned in the previous slides. The write.csv will be there, and the result simply will store the result. Then simply you can also write to the file the actual and predicted data, and thereafter we will save the image, and we will say done. Total time taken. Like that way we will perform some these decision tree. And similarly, you can also utilize the data for another one. This is for the different linear models will be there, and neural network model will be there, and the random forest value will be there. And after that, designing this one, we can also design already model will be designed, then thereafter we will utilize this model into the new test value will be there. Okay. Like that way, for example, when we go for the testing the new data set, in that case we will just utilize the our trained models. Like that, for example, we have trained over only the variable declare, only we have simply declare the variables model names, because that particular model will be take whole the data. We mentioned here that neural network model dot r data, that will contain the previously trained model will be there, and all the values will be stored here. Okay. So in that case, simply we pick up the design models. Thereafter we will pick up there some test files. These are different files will be there. Then we have to load the particular model. After loading the models, in that case, now the particular model will be not load. There's some problem. In that case, we have to check the data. Okay. Some file. Okay. Dysentery is not repeated. In that case, we have to execute the neural network model, because first we not execute the neural network model. Okay. Now the file is stored. Now we are able to execute this file. First, we have to load the pre-trained model. This is the neural network model will be there. This is the neural network model.r.data will be there. After that, we will be access the test file.csv that will be utilized. Then we will load the models. Okay, the model will be loaded. Then we display the test data dot csv will be there. After that, we will there for prediction. You have to predict, utilize the predefined model, and then the test data set will be there. Okay, so like that way we have mentioned here, and thereafter we will just show the top 6 predicted value, and thereafter we will be write the data back into the csv file. Okay, so like that way we will be go for the different decision tree, neural network, linear regression, the regression you can try the different models. And similarly you can also we have covered the session 1 and session 2 for the practical sessions. And like that way session 1 is already completed for the R basics. And if you have to go for the more on the practical sessions, in that case we you can check the manual the random forest package, and thereafter you have to load these particular data into your library. Okay, next one is these are the regression will be there. Okay, and thereafter we have also completed the session 3, in which the testing of the new data set will be checked. In that case, pre-trained model will be utilized in our uh, new data sets. And next one, the two session will be there, the session 4 and session 5, and you have to try it on and check, because it without doing yourself it is not possible. Then this is the session 4. When you explore this one, this is the classification data set multi-class will be there. I have already provided the R language code for the multi classification of data set with which having the multi classes. Previously we discussed about only the binary classification, but in that case you will able to check the multi class will be there. Okay, and last when you go for the practical session in the session 4, you will explore the breast cancer csv will be there. So first all the participant you have to perform these practical session yourself. Okay,
Hello.
yes,
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your session.
okay.
Yeah.
Actually
If yeah,
all the
if the
practical implementation has to be done yourself. Without this it will not possible.
yeah, sure. If participant have any question, any doubt, any queries, please raise a query, raise a doubt if you have any. Yeah, people are
Yes,
asking for the material PPTs. Sir, is it possible?
I think I have already sent.
share. Yes, sir.
Yeah. We got it. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
participant, we will share it with you all.
If you have any question you can ask. And beside this you can see my latest paper on the research gate. Just type the Vijay Kumar Chahar the most of the research paper during this COVID pandemic situation. I think we have write approximate 12 to 13 paper regarding this COVID. Most of the papers will be utilizing the different scenario. In that case, we have discussed about the effect of the COVID on the e-learning. Beside these, we have also analyzed the environmental effect. Also, thereafter, some apply the deep learning techniques on the chest X-rays as well as CT scan will be there. And recently we are working on the multi-class classification of the COVID. Okay, so you can also check the different beside these COVID, you can also find out the research on the image technography as well as the data mining will be there. And if you are interested in the multi-objective optimization, then you can read my papers. Spotted hyena optimizer will be there, imperial penguin will be there, seagull will be there, and recently the rat optimizer will be also there. Okay, so you can just read these papers.
Sir, your sessions. Thank you, sir. Vijay, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was very nice and continuous. This much of hours means it's very tiring, maybe sessions.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Sir, in futures, again,
yes, sir.
we will hope again a cooperations in the future, sir. Also.
Definitely. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, ma'am.
Sir, anything you want?
Yes, any question?
Vijay, sir,
Yes, ma'am.
anything you want to say regarding this
It is
FDP and all this
it's very
content?
nice FTP, and I already listened the lecture of Dr. Deepak Garg. He's very well known to me.
Okay.
Very good sessions.
Okay, sir.
I think all the participants should attend the session. Okay, this is very informative, and you will learn a lot of the things from this FTP. If you have any question, you
So
can
during
ask,
this
and you
pandemic,
can also email to
yes,
me. I have already mentioned that my email ID. This is the Vijay Kumar Chahar at the gmail.com, and you can also write on my NITH email ID also. It's the same. Just you have to change the Gmail with the nith.ac.in. Remaining will be same. Vijay Kumar Chahar. Yes.
So it was very informative session, sir. Lots of people are praising in the chat window. You can see.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
all from the data set, UCL library, then subset problem. Then you have also shared the useful resources for the data sets and also the fundamental programming at the core functionality for the machine learning. Very crucial part of this session.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank you so
hope
much, my
we
sir.
will in future we will also get connect for the more such kind of sessions.
and in
Definitely.
in second and session and third session again we are coming, sir. So we are waiting for second and
Okay.
third sessions.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.